Today, I want to share with you one very simple truth that I realized about life and business in general that I want to share with you. So, I work with a lot of small business owners, a lot of designers are my clients, my coaching clients, and small business owners and nonprofits. Small business owners like therapists mostly. And here's a truth that I realized recently. And it's kind of based on my life experience. I'm almost 40. I have moved between continents 5 times, and I experienced major loss in my 30s. So I'm almost 40, and here it is. So let's cut straight to the chase. A lot of people think that, and this is kind of a new idea of individualism. A lot of people think that if you are talented, if you show up, then automatically you deserve success and you deserve happiness. So ask yourself, are you happy? Do you think you have what you're supposed to have, what you think you're supposed to have? So a lot of people think that just by showing up by default, everybody should be happy and everybody should have what they want to have. And here's the truth. This is not the case at all. So if you are an adult and you enter the working world, if you're a child and somebody's taking care of you and somebody's praising you, that is what is supposed to happen for a child. But then there's this transition between childhood and adulthood where you're supposed to realize this very simple truth. Nothing by default, like you deserve nothing by default, and happiness is not a default state. And in this place in time, and I'm sorry, this is going to be like quite philosophical, but this is something that I have arrived at recently. And I was like, that makes sense. And I kind of knew it. I kind of always knew it, but intuitively. But just recently, I was able to put it into words. And this idea, it's not based on like negative thinking that, oh, everything is bad, you don't deserve anything, you should not be happy, you're going to be struggling. No, it's not about that. It's about that. It's about the fact that by default, nothing falls into places. You can get lucky a little bit, but generally by default, to get something, you need to work for it. You need to pay the price. And it's not supposed to be easy. It's not designed to be easy. So yes, as I said, I work with a lot of small business owners and people who are just starting businesses. And when I tell them that they will need to show up online, on social media, on the blog, on YouTube for that matter, for more than 6 months to see some traction. So they will have to invest significant resources of time, of either time or money, or their own labor, or they hire somebody and that person invests her labor into it. That you have to invest significant resources before you see the results. And if somebody got successful overnight, what it seemed like they got successful very quickly, in reality, you just don't see the work that they put in it up front. And I'll give you one little example of this. So I was at Circle Day in New York. Circle Day is a Squarespace conference in New York this September. And they were hosting some breakout sessions. And I was at one of the breakout sessions and we were talking about YouTube. And I said, okay, I want to start a channel. I want to start posting videos. And a friend of mine, a peer in the industry, said, okay, maybe you will post your first videos. They're not going to be as good as other videos of other creators who've been doing this for a while. But remember when you started your blog, your first blog posts were not that good when you just got started. And I was like, well, actually, when I started my blog 5 years ago or 6 years ago, uh, I was a journalist and then marketing manager for like 10 years before that. And when I was a journalist, it was my job to write every single day. So I was a reporter, and sometimes I would write 3 news stories per day, in addition to calling people, getting interviews, looking for comments, looking for sources, calling government agencies, looking for data, for information. So when I started my blog, I had so much writing experience that I was just like blogging like that from the beginning. So for me, it was a matter of getting to some specific number of posts on my blog. Like after 100 posts, my blog started bringing consistent revenue. But nobody sees that work that went up front. Because when I was 19 years old and I was accepted, so I got my first job at a newspaper. It was a daily newspaper. And I was so insecure with my writing. The writing was in Russian. And I was so insecure and I was so afraid to bring my article to an editor that before I had to submit an article, I would spend an entire night writing it and rewriting it and just like going at it and like polishing every single word to make sure it's on the right place. So me starting a blog and me writing websites for clients very easily, it's the result of that work, right? And then I was also, I think I was 22 when I started working at a talk radio, Radio Liberty Free Europe. I was a correspondent and I went through extensive training, and writing for a radio is very different from writing for paper. Because that writing then is narrated, you read it, and it's supposed to be very clear, very punchy, very conversational. So that's when I got my skill of writing. But it's not obvious. So back to my idea that happiness is not a given. Happiness and success are not default states. You have to work for these states. You have to put in the work, put in effort. And this isn't to be negative about it. So actually, you will get from point A to point B no matter what. And you have to stay kind of positive between these 2 points. But also realize that it takes effort, it takes dedication, work ethic. Success is not a given. And once you understand this idea, it gets really easier. As I said, I experienced major loss in my 30s and tragedy in my family, and that did not make me an unhappy person. Let me break this down. So, because the things that happened, they're very natural. They could have happened later in my life, right? But they will happen to every one of us, no matter how rich you are, if you are from, if you have a bigger family, if you have a smaller family, if you were born into wealth, or if you are very poor. Every one of us experience the same things, but this is how life is. It's not supposed to be easy. These hard things in life, they happen. They don't make you an unhappy person because happiness is not a given. So how does this apply to online businesses and being a designer, running a Squarespace business? Because this channel is about business. It's not supposed to be easy, and you're not supposed to be successful. You're not supposed to like scale to $1 million in 1 year. You're not supposed to get like $50,000 clients right away. You're not supposed to like launch something and it flies. You gotta put a lot of upfront work for it and accept it. because it's the same thing for everybody, pretty much. Some of us have more privilege than others. Imagine you are moving to a foreign country and you know you need to get your visa stuff in order. You need to do all the paperwork. That's very difficult, by the way. Then you arrive to a new country with 2 suitcases and you have to figure out where you're gonna live. So you go searching for an apartment or a house. You have to negotiate with landlords. You have to get all of your paperwork done. And it's not easy because you're new, you don't have any connections. And then you have to buy all the furniture for the house. Then you have to get your local documents. You need to get a new driver's license, for example. But all of these things are very hard to do. They're difficult. And this is how life is. Just things that are happening that are difficult. And if you approach these things like in the movie, like Emily in Paris. So she arrives in Paris and everything falls into places. She's on top of the world, this white privileged woman who is arriving to another first world country and is hanging out with local bohemian community. Like, the movie sets really unrealistic expectations about life. But if you have like similar attitude toward business, working with clients, or moving to another country, you're gonna be very, very disappointed. So you have to prepare yourself emotionally that it's not gonna be easy. It's gonna be difficult, but you will be able to work through it, because the majority of people give up before they think. So the majority of people will give up at a point where they think this is difficult, Most people think it's more difficult than it is, but they will give up before it gets easier for them. You know what I mean? So this is my message to you at the beginning of 2026. And again, this is not to be negative. You will get from point A to point B. If you're all negative, all upset about these difficulties, you're just gonna make it more difficult for yourself, right? So you have to approach this with optimism. Like your business, your job, your life, your relationships. Approach this with optimism, but don't take for granted that it's gonna be easy, because it won't be. The reality is that you have to put in the work to get to a certain level, to a certain degree, get somewhere. Without the work, you might get lucky. Maybe you have some, money to invest, or you have family, friends, connection to get you this initial boost that other people don't have. But then on the next level, you land at the bottom of the level. So this is my message to you at the beginning of 2026, and I'll see you in the next video.